Hey, sexy Steven.
Ooh.
Hello, welcome to Weekly Geek Speak. Scott's doing the Gangnam Style that for some reason, because he's only just heard it a year later.
We're so behind.
It's a horrible craze, isn't it? Although it's not too
Have you seen that
offensive.
Budweiser advert when they're all saying "What's up"?
What's that?
It's right good. What's that?
No.
Oh, well, I thought they were advertising WhatsApp.
Yeah. New campaign.
No, I was doing a joke because that's outdated.
It kind of goes wrong, because
fell
I
flat.
thought Budweiser had gone to make a joke about WhatsApp.
No.
I thought, I did.
And they go, WhatsApp! Download it now to get your free
Yeah.
They should have.
Budweiser.
Why haven't they done that?
Welcome to Weekly Geek
They
Speak.
can have that for free.
They can.
Or they can pay us. Probably the second.
We're a weekly geekly podcast talking about various geekly things. This week we are very excited. We're going to be bringing you our Weekly Geek Speak 2014 award nominations, which you can vote on once you've heard this. It's today.
Today.
And we'll be hammering out that, because there's still some decisions to be made, and we're going to do it live on the mic for you. Or pre-recorded, and you'll listen to it in a week's time.
We're live.
Also, Adam from the Attaboy Clarence podcast joins us for a little sneak peek into 1940s schlock. And now we need to sort out a problem with Decommend from last week.
We do indeed.
But before we do that, bear in mind you can follow us on Twitter at Weekly Geek Speak. We're on Facebook. Give us a like. And our website is weeklygeekspeak.com. If you do enjoy us today, do subscribe on iTunes, Spreaker, Podcast Land, or what's the other one? Stitcher. I always forget one.
You do, and it's always a different one,
It's
which
always-
I find amazing.
But yeah, now all that junk's out of the way. Let's get cracking, because we've got a big show today, and we're not going to overrun like we did last week. No, we're not.
We will.
Anyway, yeah, not last week, a couple of weeks ago, we did our recommend, decommend, and every now and then we get in a vote circle where we each vote for each other's, and it sticks. But before we do that, what is recommend, decommend, just so anyone knew?
Recommend Decommend is when we bring along all the films we've watched in between recording sessions. We bring our highest rated and we pitch that as our recommend, and we bring our lowest rated and we pitch that as our decommend, and then we all vote. And like we just said, if we can't get into a gridlock, we throw it out to you, which is what's happened.
Exactly what we've done.
Sorry if you heard me drinking water.
Very noisy. Like a lorry reversing in here having a drink. Well, I threw in The Wind Rises last time, Miyazaki's final film. Steve brought...
The Wind Rises.
Oh, God.
Bane's back.
Not Bane. I don't enjoy Bane. Steve brought 90s horror classic Scream, and Scott brought Lego Batman the Movie DC Superheroes Unite.
Yeah.
And there are two films got really good votes, but one did kind of run away with it, and it was Scream, unsurprisingly.
We've had a new tweet since you've last looked. Would this change anything?
Possibly.
Right. Well, it says, I've watched Lego Batman 3. I didn't know it was just cutscenes. It seemed to have a really good narrative when I watched it at 3 a.m. I vote Lego Batman, the movie DC Superheroes Unite, and that's from Definitely Not Scotty Magic on Twitter.
Oh.
So, does that change anything?
Let me just... no.
Oh,
Scream...
We've had 2 more tweets.
It's too late, Scott. It's gone. And it's gone to Steve, who
Wow.
puts another notch on the bedpost on Recommend Decommend.
Totally fair.
And now we move on to this week's. So what have we been watching this week? Scott?
This week I watched Nightcrawlers.
Nightcrawlers.
With Jake Gyllenhaal.
Is that the one, the blue one from X-Men?
No.
Played by Alan Cummings.
Yeah, Nightcrawler's Origins. It's Jake Gyllenhaal looking rather gaunt. He plays a rather... I don't know how to describe him, but he's a very odd man, and he happens upon a career of night crawling, which is people who film accidents and crime scenes in the middle of the night for news stories in America.
Okay.
The gaudier and the sort of bloodier, the better. And it's a bit of like a dark satire on sort of news, and it's quite disturbing. And it's a really good performance from Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's enjoyable. I recommend it.
Cool. Very good. I've heard lots of good things about it. Lots of windings around the place of films out at the moment. So yeah, it brings it nicely and neatly to me. Lots of 7s, lots of 8s, and a couple of 9s. One of my 9s was recommended last year, so I won't bring that one. That being Rise of the Planet of the Apes of the Three of the Rings. Of the good. I don't know whether to go for a 9 or one of me 8s. What shall I do? What shall I do? What shall I do?
Only you know the answer.
I will go with my 9 because it's a film that I absolutely love and I can watch over and over and over again. I know Steve's been talking about it himself. Films that are not in your top 10 that perhaps should be in your top 10 because you don't initially think of it, but you do continue to go back to them and watch them and watch them. About my 5th or 6th time I've watched this, and it's Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay.
Starring Steve Carell, little Anna Breslin, who steals a lot of scenes, and Alan Arkin, isn't it? Or is it Adam Arkin? I never remember this one.
I don't know.
And Muriel from Muriel's Wedding.
You're terrible, Muriel.
But I really love this film because it's a really touching film, which is funny throughout, and it never seems like it's trying too hard. And I really love when Steve Carell plays a straight role because he doesn't feel like a comedian playing a straight role, and you know what I mean by that. Sometimes they're still playing, oh, I'm the straight man, you know. He's not. He's a genuine. This really shows him of how much of a genuinely strong actor he can be. I think Toni Collette is a brilliant actress anyway. She's in a lot of underrated stuff, I think. And the whole every member of that family I really love, from Greg Kinnear's like knobhead dad, Paul Dano's kind of emo teenager, and the granddad who's just amazing.
Yeah.
And they all go through a journey themselves on this little journey, and it satires family life, and then it also satires the horrible children's pageantry as well in such a great way. And it's what we were talking about the endings of films you wish you could see again with fresh eyes that you've never seen. I love the ending to that film in the child pageant. If you haven't seen it, do go watch it. I won't ruin it for you, but I find it's one of the most genuinely funny, brilliant ends to a movie, just because it pulls them all together as a family. I just think it's an absolutely stunning movie, and it is a 9 out of 10 for me. I will probably watch it next year, and the year after that, because it's just always a comfortable, happy watch for me to go back to. So my recommend pitch is Little Miss Sunshine.
Cool beans.
Steve, can you bring some geekiness to the geek recommendation, which is very normal at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's one that's been on the radar for a while. I've tried to avoid things that I tend to do if they interest me, and I've finally got around to it. It started off in cinemas as Edge of Tomorrow, but seemingly now, as we were discussing off air earlier, it's called Live, Die, Repeat now.
Yeah, well, it's the weird rebranding. Like,
Yeah.
I know it was Edge of Tomorrow, but then suddenly everyone's calling it Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah,
And then the cover's like being taken over by the tagline.
Yeah.
It's just,
which is
it's weird.
like a rebranding on DVD to try and get it a different audience or following. But
Because I've seen it got unfairly kind of slated ahead of it even being released because it's got Tom Cruise in it. I myself thought the trailer looked rather dull, but everyone's been saying it's good, and you brought it today. Why, Steve?
well, Tom Cruise, he gets a bad rap, but I mean, Tropic Thunder he was great in. That made me realise he can do.
The one film
He can do
he's
good
only
stuff.
kind of
he
in
was
it.
Great. No, but he got a bad rep, and the trailer didn't. It made me want to watch it, but I've waited this long to see it on DVD. And you know what? I'm really, really glad I did. It's a really strong 8 out of 10. It's Groundhog Day meets Starship Troopers meets
You don't
sort
like
of-
Groundhog Day?
No. I know, but it's that element of reliving this. But I just like the way it's done.
What's that do that Groundhog Day doesn't do?
I don't think
Have
I've gone
guns.
for about 20 years, so I don't know. But yeah, I know. Well, it's made me want to go back and watch it. I'm intrigued by it. But just a really good, strong, solid, actiony sci-fi film. Tom Cruise is good in it. Emily Blunt, great. And it's not the story I expected from the trailer. You're like, oh bloody hell, we're just going to see him waking up over and over and over. It kind of gets that out the way quite quickly, and then it moves on with the story. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it does something a little bit different, and it doesn't go where you expect it to go. But thoroughly watchable. Really, really enjoyed it.
It's good. I'm really glad you've brought it up as well, just for the fact that out of all the films that we'll be talking about later in the nominations, it's the one I felt a bit guilty that none of us had seen, so now someone has, so I feel a bit better about that. So, Scott, it's time to vote. You have got Little Miss Sunshine and Edge of Tomorrow that lives, dies and repeats.
It's a very tough one, because it's a film I've seen, which I really like, and a film I really want to see, which I imagine I'll really like. If I'm going by your usual rule of if you put them both in front of me, I'd pick Edge of Tomorrow, but that's mostly because I've not seen it. Little Miss Sunshine's really good indie comedy, tragicom. Oh, can you do me last?
I can make it easy
Who
for you.
flipped roles? Come on, come on, Scott.
What's your thoughts? Where are you going? Why do you like Little Miss Sunshine?
I thought it had a lot of heart. It's got a lot of good black humour. I just found it very watchable and endearing, if a bit warped. Share many of the reasons you gave it. I'm gonna have to say that, aren't I? Little Miss Sunshine.
Little Miss
You
Sunshine.
manipulated me there. Did you say you should have?
I was
tried-
actually
how I
going to
feel.
follow
No,
up
that's how I feel.
with
Well, I can't go for one I'm not seen. Ultimately,
it depends on how well he's sold it. I think you can if he's sold it well.
I'll stick with Little Miss.
Didn't sell it well enough.
No, you did.
It's in the $2.99 bargain bin in Asda. Fine.
So that means I vote next. Nightcrawler, much like Drive and things, is something I've seen advertised but hasn't really got my attention. I've not wanted to rush out to see it, but two people now have told me it's really good and really interesting and different, and I think that Run Roller Run said it was wow, and I went good wow, and she went yep. So, and she's generally got, actually she recommended National Treasure, I'll take that back.
Well,
No.
He gives with one hand, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Nightcrawler, from what
Sneaks in, right.
I knew nothing of it. I know we put a review by Paul Krytoff on it, and didn't even want to read that because I want to see it, you know. But
Okay.
he recommended it as well. I saw how many Krytoffs he gave out. Paul, and it was a good one. Check out his blog on our website, by the way. So yeah, Nightcrawler is exciting. I've seen neither here, so it's a dilemma for me. Edge of Tomorrow really wasn't sold on the trailer. Like, I could have left that and thrown it out the window. And I remember people telling me Oblivion was good as well, and I watched Oblivion. I thought, oh, that's all right, but it kind of stole a bit off Moon, and it stole a bit off this, and then it ended up flying into an Apple computer at the end, like Independence Day. No, not that bad, but it felt a bit shoddy. I can't blame Tom Cruise for that, really, because his performance was fine. And I do think Tom Cruise sometimes does get the shit end of the stick when perhaps he didn't deserve it. I know he's done some cheesier stuff in the middle of his career. He did some very good stuff at the start of his career, like The Rain Man and things. The Rain Man, I just said.
There can be only one!
two that haven't really interested me, but now everyone's telling me is good. They're two very similar films. It's going to come down to the DVDs on the table for me. And I'm still really struggling. So I'm going to go, because I really felt that so one of us should watch it. There must be something in me saying it's worth watching. Go and see it, somebody, please, because it deserves a fair trial. I would like to see Edge of Tomorrow most. Not taken away from Nightcrawler, I'm sure I will see it, but Edge of Tomorrow gets my vote.
Cool beans.
So that leaves
That leaves me.
Steve to decide: Little Miss Sunshine or Nightcrawler.
Again, a thoroughly tough decision, because Little Miss Sunshine, as you both said, it's just one you go back to. because it is so charming and heartwarming. Nightcrawler, I know nothing about. I've seen posters on buses. Again, I saw Kratoff's blog. But it's not one that I want to rush out to the cinema and see. I'm going to wait. So I don't know how that, but Little Miss Sunshine is definitely one that sits there in the kind of what shall I watch, maybe one of these that I've seen before, and it does get dragged out. And if you haven't seen it, it is brilliant. But you did really sell.
Is it not brilliant if they've seen it?
It's brilliant if you've seen it, yeah. But if you haven't, it's even more, which is the purpose of the recommend. So, but you sold Nightcrawler really well.
I didn't think I did. I only gave it like 3 lines.
But you said enough to make me. I didn't even know that before tonight. So I'm like, oh, okay.
It's not a good salesman.
Or
evidently he is with few words.
Bill Paxman in it.
Or Bill Pullman.
No,
Pullman.
It's well.
Oh, it's not got the right Billy P in.
Oh, you're a Pullman guy. No one's a Pullman guy.
Whoa there.
Pax all the way, baby.
I don't know, maybe we should have a
Wait
clash of
a
the titans
second.
on this.
Dun dun dun.
Paxton. Did I say Paxman?
Bill
Jeremy
Paxman. Jeremy Paxman and
Steve,
Bill Pullman.
Who are you picking? Bill Pullman wins.
I'm gonna go with Little Miss Sunshine because it's just a cracking film, and yeah.
So your recommend this week is Little Miss Sunshine. If you haven't seen it, seek it out on DVD or your streaming services now.
Or Blu-ray.
Or Blu-ray.
Oh, an old VHS. Well, he wouldn't have a VHS, would he? He wouldn't.
No.
No, probably not. But Scott, what did you watch for a decommend? Your least favourite film of the last 2 weeks?
I watched Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
There I went again.
Got us one decommend. My. We might as well give up.
I knew that was going to happen. There was no way around it.
There's no way you can mention that film without someone singing, even by someone who hates it like I.
Oh, good lord.
I vaguely saw it before. Don't ask me to define vaguely. But I tried to watch it properly. And then,
was it a date night?
Were you getting your swag on?
Were you getting your waders on?
Going weaseling?
Oh.
So I tried watching it, and then it's really just cringily bad. It's very.
How did this situation arise that you're watching it again?
Recently,
Like in the past
because
couple of weeks?
I have insomnia, and then it was on.
Okay.
Okay.
The perfect storm. So I tried watching it, and I just found it incredibly cringeworthy, and everyone irritated me. And I like musicals. I'm a big softie. I don't mind any of that. I don't mind it being a bit like mawkish and a bit like happy jazz hands. But for some, it just made me really cringe watching this. It irritated me.
Pierce Brosnan singing.
When he shouts SOS at people. SOS! With his hand in his pocket, trying to look like he's not trying to shout.
Which is the worst performance?
Oh, innit? I don't know.
What's the one where they all swing in on vines?
I hate Meryl Streep's friends. Julie Walters and
Let's take Julie Walters.
the other one whose name
I
escapes
like
me. Is it? It's not Joanna Lumley, is it? What's she called?
Strikes
I get her confused with you if it's not. They're irritating. All the men are irritating. All the girls are irritating. Meryl Streep's irritating. All the dads are irritating.
So overall, you could say it's irritating.
And I like ABBA. I think they do very melodic tunes. I should like that film. I like musicals and I like ABBA songs. But it irritates me. Why?
It's just not for
Just
you.
now.
Well, that's a very strong contender coming in. I don't think I can top that. I saw the Dyatlov Pass incident, which may also be known as Devil's Pass if you're an American, because it got renamed, I believe. It's a found footage horror film, which from the synopsis I was kind of interested in, kind of thought it could go either way. In Russia in 1940 something, a group of explorers went up a mountain, and then their bodies were found a few days later, like they'd been scared out of their tents and they'd ran off and they'd frozen to death, and some of them had died from like heart failure before they'd even like hit the ground.
Silly Billies.
Silly Billies. So where we pick up is where, because we love watching annoying students going off places, don't we? With their cameras. You know, when we went to see Celluloid Screams, there were things like Creep, which brought a new edge to the found footage kind of subgenre of horror, which is getting tired and dull. This is an example of how it got tired and dull, because the scripting in that kind of thing needs to be real. You know, you need to have people on real. That's why Blair Witch Project works, because they were talking to each other. They had a guideline of what they had to say, and that's what they did, and genuinely terror in there. I think Paranormal Activity does a great job as well with that, with the scripting, and that's the difficult thing with those films, is if you script it like a normal film, it's not going to sound right, and that was the issue at the start of this film. As we then moved into the middle, I was getting fed up with the characters. It was also doing a trope which really annoys me in hidden found footage things, is when something weird's going to happen, the camera will start malfunctioning as some kind of annoying signifier to you that something's going to happen. But this had obviously been put on post because nobody was reacting to their camera going dodgy. That annoyed me, because you would see it through the lens. You go, "Whoa, some shit's going on," and then you're already. Isn't it more unnerving expecting something to happen continuously to make you jump, rather than going, "Here's an indicator that something's going to happen"?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. So that annoyed me. Then we started to move on a bit, and they had got into this kind of cover-up kind of thing going off, and they found a tunnel and this, that, and the other. And then it started getting interesting, only to ruin it at the end with something completely retardedly ridiculous, you know? They really untied a little bit of good work that they'd already done, and this is what I call a potential film. I've seen it a lot, especially in horror, where an idea with a kernel of really good potential, a really interesting idea, is just not used. And that annoys me more than just a straight crap film, you know? If it's a straight crap film, it's straight. But then there's something good in there, a nugget of greatness that just isn't ever used. That's what annoyed me about this film.
To a lesser extent, I always call it Batman Forever syndrome. I hate Batman Forever more than Batman and Robin, because it felt salvageable.
Felt like there was something there.
It felt like that could easily have just been better. Batman and Robin had no chance.
Yeah, if it hadn't just bent over and fell into the tropes they expected from a horror movie, because they had no backbone. The best horror movies recently, over the past few years, have been the ones that have been different, and people need to remember that. So mine is the Dyatlov Pass incident, and so we move to Steve.
Devil's Pass. What's 2 6s?
2 6s.
That's a 12.
It is. So but it's going to be difficult to decommend them both, because I did enjoy them.
But there must have been something there for you, Steve.
Yeah.
And which one irked you slightly enough to throw it into the table?
Oh, Trick or Treat.
Trick or treat? Trick or treat?
Well, it's Trick or Treat.
Is it like Toys R Us?
Yeah, but they sell.
Is it like
Can you
Pirates
imagine
Are
a
We?
Toys R Us horror movie where Geoffrey the giraffe comes after you?
There's millions, said Geoffrey, all under this roof. You won't be getting out, getting out, getting out. I like it.
Nice.
That would be
Can we make that happen?
It's
Yeah.
done. I used to get in an argument about that advert, because everyone says... everyone used to...
Geoffrey.
Yeah, they're like, no, there isn't. No. There's millions, said Geoffrey.
One
Clear, because that's the only thing that makes sense.
A giraffe in a suit.
There's not millions of Geoffreys. I could be into Toys R Us.
But that could be the twist at the end of the movie, that there is millions of Geoffrey.
It's like the end of Droopy cartoons, when it always turns out there's 100 Droopies.
Or, you know, in Fantasia, when he chops up the broom, and then millions start marching out. Millions of Geoffreys. Oh, cool. We've made a film.
Heck yeah.
It's that easy, people.
Trick or treat. What?
Trick or Treat. It's a little sort of indie-ish. I'm sure it's an indie-ish film from a few years ago.
Little boy with a bag head thing.
Yeah, it is.
When you said it was an indie-ish film, and you went, "We a head." I thought you were on about headdress. No, you on about Native Americans. Thought it was some elaborate joke. Yeah, okay.
Like a tiny Hessian sackboy, like in the orphanage.
I think I've seen the DVD about. Yeah.
Yeah. It weaves quite an interesting little story, telling Halloween stories, and the trick-or-treaters come along and do their usual thing, and then it all takes a weird turn, and then there's lots and lots of little stories that all interlink this one underlying story. For the most part, it's good. The effects are quite good. It's quite creepy, but I'm not sure. I don't know how it gels together. But as I say, it was a strong 6. It wasn't amazing, but it did add some nice little touches. But it didn't jump out at me as one of the best horror films I've seen, and I've watched enough horror. So it was just that was okay. 6 out of 10. Anna Paquin is good in it. The creepy dad, I'm not sure what he's been in or who he is, but he was really good.
So a semi-reluctant decommend.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So it's voting time. Scott, do you have the Dyatlov Pass incident / Devil's Pass or Trick or Treat?
I think I will refer to it as Devil's Pass, if that's okay. I have not seen either. It will shock you to hear. I have heard of Trick or Treat though, and I always imagined it's something I may watch at time, and Steve was incredibly reluctant to decommend it. I acknowledge that Devil's Pass may have some potential and therefore might have some fans, but Trick or Treat sounded slightly better to me during that little flurry.
So it's the Devil's Pass thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means I vote next. Trick or Treat is quite a fun throwaway film to watch on Halloween. Quite like it in that sense. It harks back to the days of the anthology movie, the creep shows, the Tales of the Crypt. It's
I used to love Tales of the Crypt.
Fun in that sense. I like the story of the bus getting driven in and things. There's lots of fun things, but it's very throwaway, and it does feel very Stephen King-like. I like it, actually. But I agree, 6 or 7 out of 10. It's nothing special, but quite sweet in that sense, sweeties. Trick or treat,
Yeah,
I didn't mean to. But you know what I mean? It's a great sit with your mates kind of movie, I think. Mamma Mia, it's easy. Mamma Mia, it's horrific for me. It reminds me of middle-aged women forcing me to dance and sing along with them to ABBA. Childhood memories.
You don't want to take a chance.
I'll sing along to ABBA. there's like a heart of shame in ABBA, isn't there? It's really annoying, and I don't.
It shouldn't be. They make incredibly melodic pop songs.
It is, and that's fine. But it's stuff like this bag of crap that they made into a film, and it's not even like it's not the musical aspect. It's not. It's just a cheap novelty, and this is what puts me off things like the what's that hotel thing that's on the Grandview? Not that one.
No.
The Marigold Hotel with old people in it.
That's
things
not
like
music.
wacky old people.
Oh,
But that one might be fine. But it's this shit, Mamma Mia, that puts me off those kinds of films. So I'm decommending Mamma Mia for just being terrible. Steve?
Devil's Pass, nice idea, not done very well, but I do love a good cheesy horror. The second you said Mamma Mia, unfortunately, it was in the bag.
Mamma Mia!
It was in the bag, you'd won the war.
Won the war.
we were defeated. But Mamma Mia is just an awful bag of shite. I mean, I'm a fan of musicals, I'm a fan of cheesy, fine, throwaway singing films, but everything about it, Pierce Brosnan trying to sing, the cast, it's just
we're its target
terrible.
audience though, aren't we? Kind of not really, but we like musicals. We were going to watch it, and then it's awful.
It's horrendous.
It made my skin crawl.
And there's some great sort of, like Angie harked to, there's some great sort of strong British films with similar casts that are actually really, really good, and it is.
I don't blame any specific actor.
No, but it's stuff like that it is. It's
name a film I like from everyone in the film. I just, it was horrible.
It's just hard as a mashed together. It's just wrong. It's just. I did make it all the way through just to see, the payoff.
The second rendition of Dancing Queen.
Exactly.
Yeah, we all did that.
Yeah, didn't we? Kind of wish I hadn't, but now I've seen it enough to, definitely commend this week. It's time for the news. So this week, Quentin Tarantino has called directing movies a young man's game and said, "I don't believe you should stay on stage until people are begging you to get off." He said that after Hateful Eight, he's got 2 more films in him, leaving a 10-film filmography.
Has anyone ever well, okay, there's a few. But people don't really beg for directors to stop. It's not the
Unless
same.
it's Michael Bay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a young man's game. People should do what makes them happy. If you don't want to direct, you don't want to direct.
Yeah, just say I don't want to direct.
But is it going to be one of those retirements like Jay-Z retired?
I'm
or like
sure
Eminem
Kevin
retired?
Smith
Or
said he
Kevin
was
Smith
going
retired?
to, and
One more movie.
Is it one of those retirements?
I think his heart is movies. Maybe he'll get like Kevin Smith a bit disillusioned with it all, but I'm sure he won't.
People need a break occasionally. Just have a break. See how
Yeah.
you feel.
But he does a lot like this, doesn't he? He'll just strop about not making the Hateful Eight when the script was leaked, and then he came back going, "Well, I am going to make it. Someone else will make it wrong." And it's like, just think before you speak. Stop running off your emotions so much.
No, but in fairness, like you've got a camera in your microphone in your face to justify yourself, your life, and what you're doing. You're gonna just say stuff. Like if someone interviewed me on all my life's decisions, I'd vary all the time. I'd be a bastard. Be a complete twat. Well, you've heard me.
We'll see.
Talking of things in the past and the future, Jai Courtney is playing Kyle Reese in Terminator Genesis and could possibly be lined up to Suicide Squad to play Deadshot. Other rumours include Tom Hardy to play Rick Flag, and Will Smith as Captain Boomerang.
Is he the one in Die Hard? Is he Bruce Willis's son in Die Hard?
I don't know.
I think so. I don't know.
It could be alright. I find Will Smith as Captain Boomerang very odd, because Captain Boomerang's obviously Australian.
Right.
He's usually like a ginger, middle-aged Australian.
Okay.
But it might make that... It's not a character particularly beholden to his looks, so I don't mind them revamping it with Will Smith.
I don't know. I don't like Will Smith. I think he tries to hog the screen too much.
He never really does villain though, does he?
No.
So that could be interesting for me. Yeah, so
we'll see.
We'll see. Some big names there for B and C-list characters. It always pleases me.
It's all good. Evil Dead, the TV series, is coming to cable. The series is entitled Ash vs. Evil Dead. Sam Raimi and Robert Tappert will re-team up with Bruce Campbell. Ash will face his personal demons and a deadite plague threatening to destroy all of humanity. The show is going to air in 2015 as 10 half-hour episodes.
Shouldn't it be Bruce Campbell? Ash versus... It says everything that I always call him Bruce Campbell and never his character name. Shouldn't it be called Ash vs. The Evil Dead?
Well, I wrote that and then reread it and went, oh no, it's Ash vs. Evil Dead.
It should be the, because the original ones were the, and it was only the remake that just dropped to the.
And it's the only way the title makes sense, apart from the fact you obviously want to link it to Evil Dead. But to make it make sense, you need the. It's not Scott Pilgrim vs. World, is it?
No, I see that. This is probably what they were talking about back when Evil Dead was being made in 2013. That they still had something for it, and there was rumours that there was going to be a film by them, which is unrelated to this remake and things. But now it seems to have manifested as a TV series. Well, it's happening a lot. TV series is changing a bit due to Netflix and this kind of. A lot of movie properties are being made. I'm interested.
This in particular seems cool though, because Sam Raimi's on board, and it seems like a fun passion project rather than. Because they don't need to cash in with this, really.
No,
you could just do Evil Dead 2,
yeah.
like the remake one, the reboot with one. I'm in. We'll be watching it, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Mark Wahlberg has been confirmed as the $6 million man, but he's been given an upgrade and it's now the $6 billion man. The film is going to be directed by Peter Berg, who did Lone Survivor, also starring Mark Wahlberg. It's going to hit screens in 2016.
Oh, is that? Oh, I got excited when I read he was playing Steve Austin. I thought it was Stone Cold.
Oh.
I was all like, oh, hell yeah! I'm disappointed now. I'm not going to watch it.
I don't know. It sounds like. Well, there's obviously been some inflation.
Yeah, it's allowing for that. I like that.
But no, I don't know if $6 million / billion dollar man is calling for it. But then again, was Charlie's Angels, was anything like that, you know? But we'll see.
Depends how they do it.
It'll happen. I won't see it.
Yeah, it's a couple of years off. We'll see. James Gunn has said on Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that I think the main thing with moving on is that we can't just repeat ourselves. The new film will look more deeply into the characters and who they are on a deeper level.
So we're going to do an origin.
Well, yeah, he basically said they've taken that film with that era of music, that worked, that was funny. Let's move into the 80s and do the similar thing. He said they don't want to get typecast into just producing the same film. So they've done that bit now. They're going to get down to the nitty-gritty.
It's the right way to approach it.
Especially if they've been given a guideline, as we were predicting last week, of where to go with it, if it is going to tie into things. They obviously have a mandate to try and get that in as well, so maybe it does need to take a more serious tone.
Well, he's a very chatty man, so one of the things he was saying this week is that he's not been given like you need to get them here for this, because it's in space and it doesn't affect too much. He claims he's got carte blanche, really, apart from like can't kill Thanos. So that's intriguing.
So yeah, that'll be good. I look forward to that. Universal, we've talked a lot about shared universes with Marvel and DC recently. Released Dracula Untold, that's apparently launched the start of their shared universe that will bring black classic movie monsters into a modern world. The movies will fall into the action-adventure genre rather than the horror genre, as they're reinventing the characters in a new context.
Sounds fucking horrible.
Well, that film I thought looked terrible, but I know a lot of people who said it was surprisingly quite watchable. Now, that's not the biggest praise you've heard.
We're okay.
It's all right.
But everyone were like, you know what? It's surprisingly watchable. That's everyone's reaction, I mean.
Right.
So, a part of me will always kind of like those Universal monsters. They're really iconic and stuff. So if they could do it really cool, I'd probably watch it. I won't lie. But I bet they are bad. And I expect them to be bad. And I'm not rushing to watch them.
No.
I would want them more closely tied to it. I'm not talking like sequel, prequel. I'm not talking about someone waving their hands around Bela Lugosi style. I'm just thinking it didn't feel at all like a Dracula film. And I'm not expecting cloaking this, that and the other. You know, I just think it didn't feel right, and I don't like the idea of them doing it. Some things just probably best left alone, but then again I don't think it'll affect anything in the long run, so...
No.
M. Night Shyamalan. I had it all ready in my head to say it.
I'm not the one helping.
M. Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes!
Yes!
Well, you can't really cheer. You got it wrong twice before, but we're getting there.
I don't understand how
M.
you
Night
forget
Shyamalan.
when we remind you every week.
It's almost like his tongue is trying to wriggle out of his mouth, trying to get away from the word.
And I know people at home might think he's trying to get it wrong. If you look at him, he isn't.
I actually said it. Yes. Well, he's going to release a low-budget horror film, The Visit.
Who is, sorry?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. I think we've turned the corner. This is cool.
Well, I saw this story. It's the first story I saw, and I thought I'm keeping that till the end. But he's going to release another film about a brother and sister who are sent to their grandparents' remote house for a week. Unfortunately, the grandparents are involved in something, and the children might not make it home, and that's out next year.
Well, the twist is the grandparents die.
They are the grandparents, but there's been a temporal rift and they've slipped around.
Oh, aliens!
Yeah, there's glasses of water everywhere, and you can see dead people.
Mel Gibson's going to rock up.
And there's an
The
airbender.
house is alive.
Ooh.
I found an interesting bit of news, if that was your last story.
It was.
That there's been a kind of, not a leak, but a hint towards what this mysterious other dinosaur is in Jurassic World. With the press
the
release,
D-Rex.
The D-Rex.
I saw that.
Lego have released some images of the proposed dinosaurs for the Lego dinosaurs, and one of them is white with black stripes, and apparently the T-Rex is it's a T-Rex which has been genetically altered with DNA from a snake, a cuttlefish, and raptors. So it's got intelligence, but it's also got the ability to change colour, like a cuttlefish. Not sure how I feel about that.
Okay.
He can also play the accordion, and he knows 4 languages.
But you know, one of our fears was the chatting raptors in Jurassic Park 3. I hope this isn't a chatting T-Rex, which can disappear.
Yeah, well, I completely agree, but it's all about execution, isn't it? I'm willing to give Jurassic World a chance, because it can't be worse than 3. It can't be. Can it? Can it?
I'm weirdly, intrigued. I'll go along for the ride, but I'm not... It's not going to be as good as the first one. Fun return, I guess. So
We'll see.
We'll see. It could be awful. Me and Scott this week went to the cinema together, hand in hand, to go and watch Interstellar.
We skipped in.
You skipped in.
All Wizard of Oz style. Well, we'd have asked you, see, but we didn't want to ask you.
That's fine. I didn't want to say.
So you can't take that personally.
I don't want to
because we tried.
Well, we did hear rumours that there was people with beards having conversations,
What?
and there was some walking involved.
What?
So
Yeah,
we thought it might
Walking
not
in
be
space.
Not your
Oh,
style.
no.
Well, yeah, we're going to give it a quick review because
Cool.
we feel we should, because we've trailer trashed it and it's very much in our wheelhouse. So
Mm-hmm.
let's get it talked about. Scott, let's start with you. You are a huge Nolan fan.
Mm-hmm.
You loved pretty much every piece of his work to date.
Yeah, I don't love The Following or Insomnia, but I think they're strong.
Mm.
But I love the rest.
It's very hard to talk about Interstellar without giving stuff away. We don't want to give stuff away. It's a fun movie to go and see like that. So we just talk about it very quickly in general in this review and how we felt about it. So how did you, as the massive Nolan fan, what do you think?
I didn't know what to expect because it seems to have been dividing people. And I can definitely see why it might be slightly divisive because it's kind of it's a bit balmy in places. It takes a couple of leaps you have to go with.
Right.
And it's a bit ploddy in the middle because it's quite long. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. It's the most raw and the most emotional film he's done.
Right.
And I think he plays a lot with like narrative, like he always does. So that wasn't, but there was a lot more character depth than he usually does. And whilst the literal narrative might lose a few people, I personally loved it. I think it more than makes up for that in metaphor and emotion, because it's kind of his ode to humanity and survival and the things about humanity that transcend the fact we're just shells,
Right.
shell animals, doomed to die. Sorry, that's my thing. It got to me. And I have to mention Hans Zimmer, who I think's just the best, probably ever. I just love his soundtracks.
Yeah.
I could listen to them forever. They just get to me somehow. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Great performances. It's a very worthy film, but it plods a bit in the middle, and I can see it won't be for everyone. But if you go here and just accept what it is and try and see the meaning of it, I think it's really, really good.
I really enjoy it. Now, I'll be honest, I'm less of a Nolan fan. I'm not a Nolan fan, but I don't, like a lot of people, like worship his work and stuff. I enjoy the Batman trilogy and things, but some of his other work I appreciate, but I leave it there on the shelf. I thought Inception came out between
Like
Dark
Thai
Knight,
films, doesn't it?
and it was so. Everyone was running around screaming about Inception. I think Interstellar's kind of gone under the radar a little bit with people because the Nolan hyperbole has died, hasn't it? You know, the hyperbolic like Nolan that was going on at that point because he'd done such a good job with Dark Knight, and we were all excited for the next Batman. But this is the thing he was doing in between, and everyone was like, "Way!" And also Leo was in his prime. We were all like Kermit for some reason. But this one, it's kind of come along, took its time, and I enjoyed going in there, and it's a standout film because it's so nice to see a big budget film which is intelligent, you know, intelligent at its core. That's why I like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You know, it takes its time. It doesn't feel like it has to throw a set piece in for you all the time. This felt like a movie version of a science lesson in a way as well, because there's a lot of theory in there, philosophy and science side by side. It was intelligent but not pretentious at all, and that's why I liked it. It didn't feel pretentious. It was telling its story, and you had to go with it because that's how you should. But I found sometimes in Inception they would go, no, it's theory, and that's why, you know, and then it would move on, and that's no detriment to that's how the kind of style of the film was. But in this one, it invested you a lot more in human relationships and the human condition, so to speak, wasn't it? And us.
Yeah.
But combined it with the mass of space and things, and our insignificance, but how we might be more significant than we think. It's an incredible piece of work. It is a piece of art, and it was a joy to watch because as I say, it wasn't pretentious. It was just joyous in a lot of it, and the visuals are stunning. I mean, if you want to see a space drama while munching popcorn going, wow, look at the effects, go see Gravity. Gravity is great for that. This was like Gravity with a bit more, a bit extra thrown in there. There's some superb visuals, the space bits are great. They felt really real, if you know what I mean. Really real, not CGI rubbish. It felt like you...
None of it was, did you?
None of it was.
He recreated, like, they were actually on a space thing, and they actually played images of space behind the set they were on.
Well, you
rather
can
than
tell.
green screened it.
It's really good.
So the actors could react to the space they were looking at.
That's good though. That showed, and it made it a better thing. People have said Moon, its style a bit like Moon. It is. You can see that in there, and that's because it feels real. It feels like a more believable future as well. I just think it's an absolutely great bit of cinema, and something we don't often get, and something that demanded the budget it had to deliver what it needed to. Some really good performance as well. Matthew McConaughey, he's been consistently good, but I don't think he's been stand out, and this is one of his better roles. You know, I really beginning to see what the fuss is about here.
The reconnaissance is in full flow.
I agree with Scott. He was let down by a bit of a ploddy middle section, and the ending's a little out there. But you by the point you've got to there, you're happy with it because it makes sense. Definitely see it.
I can see why it might divide people though, and no film's for everyone. And I just love Chris Nolan because he makes smart blockbuster films, and he asks you to go with him. He doesn't talk down to you, but he doesn't make it inaccessible at any point. So there's underneath it all, it's watchable art. There's no pretension, but it's clever at the same time.
Okay.
And that's why I love Chris. And he always plays with narrative, which I always like, and they're always strong and well scored and well acted. And he's just a great storyteller first and foremost, and that's why I gush a bit.
I say you definitely both sold it because we trailer trashed the teaser months ago now, and that's all I've seen of it. That's I've never watched another trailer or read much, but spent quite a bit of time on Reddit and stuff, and it has divided people. It's the theories and the fact that you're supposed to go with it. I think some people don't seem to be able to cope with that. I've read a couple of spoilers, which is a shame, but people put things in the thing and then go, spoiler, you know the bit with it, and you're like, why would you put... So it unfortunately read a few things, but it's definitely, it lit up the movies section of Reddit. Nearly every other post was Interstellar. You know the soundtrack's amazing. Which was your favourite track? Which was your this invoked that? How did it make you feel? A lot of people are talking about it, so it's generated a lot of buzz. And you two have sold it. I mean, you made me want to go and see it.
I think he's made his 2001 and Space Odyssey, and I think I was saying this to Andrew. I think either after or before we watched it, but people see a divisive film as a negative. And I was saying to Andrew, almost every film that's proven quite divisive, I've ended up loving, because the reasons it's divisive is not usually a fault of the film. It's usually a praise for it because it's got points worth debating. That's not to say every contentious film is brilliant, but like, it's not a bad thing if it's divisive. Do you know what I mean?
It's the Superman one as well. Lots of people who didn't like it because it didn't feel like Superman. Or maybe it's because it was doing something different, you know? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the same with this, but it's not your bog standard sci-fi. It's not.
I think a lot of people wanted an Inception-like thriller.
I think a lot of people wanted a Gravity, like balls out action every 2 seconds.
Not necessarily. I don't want to undercut anyone who genuinely is not a fan, because nothing can please everyone. And you might have genuine opinions. I loved it though.
I thought it was very good. It's my favourite Nolan film outside the Batman trilogy. Definitely. But then
I'd have to see it again to commit, but it's stayed with me since I watched it.
It was the fact he'd coupled it with a lot of great human relationships as well that made you feel emotional, as opposed to Inception's a lot Bang 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 Theory, isn't it? And I know there is relationship in there, but I felt this one a lot more. I don't know why, it just did. And I'm a massive sci-fi fan, and because I grew up on Star Trek and Technobabble and Theory and this kind of stuff that they like
It's
to throw
very
around.
like a realistic Star Trek.
It is, and that's why I loved it. Interstellar, I have given it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, an 8 or 9.
Cool. Both very high.
I'd be tempted to say 8.5 if Andrew wouldn't stare at me. Weird. Annoying inside.
Ooh.
No, I'm going to take that as you still haven't quite made your mind up,
Yeah.
as opposed to that's your final decision.
Yeah, he needs to see it again.
This is going to create a massive problem in a few minutes' time when we talk over some of our nominations, because it's going to be interesting. But right now we're going to have a listen to Adam from the Attaboy Clarence podcast, who is going to talk some 1940s cinema schlock.
Back in the 1940s, going to the cinema was a very different experience. Instead of a few trailers, a few ads and a movie, the general public would be treated to a whole evening's entertainment. To begin with, you get a newsreel, followed by a short educational film, and then a musical segment that generally lasted about 10 minutes. Depending on the cinema you went to, you'd sometimes then be given a live cabaret act, usually a troupe of dancers who perform a skit based on a theme such as an Egyptian dance or a Western sing-along. That's why so many old cinemas have a stage. This would be followed by a movie, but not the main movie of the evening, the one that you read about in your newspaper and for which you'd made the special journey. This was the second feature, a generally shorter movie with lesser production values and a more efficient style. This was the B-movie, the movie before the real movie, that only had an hour to pick you up, whirl you round and plant you back on your feet. Because the budget for the films was small, it had to get its point across fairly quickly, so the poster, and more importantly, the title, had to do most of the work. That's why schlock movies during the Golden Age all carried titles such as Attack of the Crab Monsters, The Trollenberg Terror, Murder by Television, and Horror Island. While B-movies hardly ever garnered the sort of critical acclaim and enduring appeal as the more prestigious films of the period, a cult has built around them over time. A cult that I'm very proud to be a part of. The schlocktacular offering I want to tell you about today will already be familiar to listeners of the Attaboy Clarence podcast. In fact, hardly a week passes without my referring to it in some way. Its name is the Brighton Strangler. You see, everything you need to know about the film is in that title. There's a strangler in Brighton. That's where he does the strangling. Because it only runs for 67 minutes, it doesn't have time to give too many f***s about setting up the story itself. So a few horrible scenes of exposition later, the action is well and truly underway.
Oh, you're not. You can't be.
Go on, say it. The Brighton Strangler. And you're the only person who knows it.
Oh, no. No. We're in London. This is New Year's Eve. Oh, don't. Don't. You're not going to kill me.
Yes. There'll be no New Year for you.
It's all about an actor, Reginald Parker, who's found considerable fame on the London stage in the role of Edward Grey, the Brighton Strangler. One night, during an air raid, he gets a blow on the head, and when he wakes up, something's changed. Now fully convinced he's Edward Grey, he journeys down to Brighton to fulfill the real-life revenge murders he's been spending the last 12 months enacting on the stage. The part where he gets hit on the head is my favourite piece of cinema ever created. He gets a burning beam of wood dropped on him, then wanders out into the night, clutching a hand to his head and triangular walking through London's streets, completely ignored by everyone around him, even though blood is running down his face and he's staggering blankly around, clutching his head, like Brian Blessed's wife. There then follows a brilliant sequence where he holds entire conversations with the people around him by simply repeating the last bit of everyone's sentences.
I heard about the theatre.
The theatre?
Yes, of course I recognized you the minute you stepped into the compartment.
What?
You are Reginald Parker, the actor, aren't you? I've seen your picture on the billboards dozens of times.
Reginald Parker.
And I've been dying to tell you. My name is April.
April?
That's the name of the girl in your play, isn't it? And I'm from Brighton.
April from Brighton.
It culminates with him approaching a poster for Canterbury.
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 Never before has the name Canterbury sounded so sinister.
Canterbury.
Canterbury! Somehow, he eventually ends up in Brighton, strangles 2 people and drinks lots of tea. Whenever the stranglings are mentioned in his presence, his eyes look shiftily from side to side like Eagle Eye's Action Man. But how, you're probably not asking, is justice served to this deranged murderer? Is he himself the ironic victim of a strangling? Do the police finally work out what's happening and arrest him? Nope. He walks off a roof and dies. It's worth saying that again. He walks off a roof and dies.
Reggie!
Here's why this film is brilliant. If this film was made today, it wouldn't be called The Brighton Strangler. It would be called The Struggle Within, or Time's Descent, or The Final Curtain or something. It would probably star Michael Fassbender. It would probably be 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It would involve lots of Michael Fassbender staring into mirrors at himself, whispering. There would be a distinct blueness to the film's lighting. The Brighton Strangler is 67 minutes long. Within 20 minutes, you know everything about him, and he hath strangled. It ends with him walking off a roof by accident. The poster is as follows. Big yellow letters at the top that say, The Brighton Strangler. Strangler's face looking very evil and somewhat overweight, with a strange pained look in his eye, as though he's just zipped his fly through half a testicle. Female star looking frightened and quite boss-eyed, pair of hands tightening a rope. It would take the collected brains of every scientist at the CERN laboratories to calculate the precise amount of f***s that this poster does not give. That's what I love, not just about this film in particular, but about every schlocky, pulpy little B-movie of the 1930s and 40s. They tell you half the story with the title, the other half with the poster, and then make the name of a historic English cathedral city sound ominously disturbing. In short, it's storytelling distilled to its very essence. You don't waste a moment because you don't have many moments to waste. That, my friends, is the definition of a B-movie. Have a Canterbury.
Canterbury.
The most wonderful time of the year.
Ding dong. When we do our award nominations for you to vote on, it's the most wonderful time
Of the year.
of the year.
Oh.
Of the year. Yeah, we're going to go through our nominations from the cinema this year. We have several sections.
Just so people know, we never plan our intros. Don't think we sat there thinking that was a good idea.
Because it
wasn't.
Weekly Geek Speak behind the magic. Coming up next.
So we've got our core here, but we need to knock them down to 3 in each category. You will be able to vote on these over the next 6 weeks, and then we'll present them in a show in January. But
Can I clarify the criteria?
please do.
Basically, like last year, from November
Last year.
2013 through to now, that is the timeline we are picking films from. And the main criteria is this, and this is very important before you all tweet us. We have to have seen the film. And we all kind of we come to a large consensus on a lot of them, but in some cases we've all voted for 1 nomination each. But if we haven't seen them, they are void and not allowed in. And it's a bit of fun. And every award ceremony is wildly subjective. We're aware of this.
And there isn't any physical awards, it's just for funfulness.
Yes.
But when you get mad
decide-
at us, because Peter Jackson phoned in last year and he said, "Where's my award? I need it for my shelf." And I was like, "Sorry, we didn't actually make any," and I just sent him a keyring.
More than I
just
get.
think you need to be aware that we don't earn anything from this podcast, Peter. We're not like you with your little armies of darkness. So,
but you will have the chance to vote, so ultimately you decide who wins. So you've got that power.
So we'll start with what I call the others section, which weirdly would normally come at the end, but I'm keeping it this way. We're going to start with Best Actor and Actress. Now, for the Best Actor, there are a couple in here that I think need to be thrown in after what we've watched over the past few days.
I've got two I'd like to add, yeah.
Because at the moment we have Andy Serkis as Caesar from Rise of the Planet of the Apes, fantastic mocap performance.
Yeah, really good.
Leo from Wolf of Wall Street as well.
Still not seen it, but I love Scorsese, so I don't know why it's not happening. Do you ever get a film you really want to see, almost too much, so you never quite get round to it because you want the perfect moment to watch it properly? It's a bit like that.
Now I've written down in my handwriting Ralph Jones. Ralph.
Ray Fiennes.
That's my
Oh, Ralph Jones.
And that clears it up. Who was Ralph Jones in?
You really beat me there for a minute. I was like, who the fuck's Ralph Jones? Am I being an idiot? Yeah, I think we need to add the reconnaissance for Interstellar, and Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawlers I'd want to chuck in as a possible.
But there can only be 3.
There can only be 3!
And I don't think Steve's seen any of
I've
the
seen
film.
none of the films.
So I guess it's between us
You've
two.
got to decide.
I think Andy Serkis should be.
That's the only one I would go boom
Right.
and put in there. So Andy Serkis as Caesar.
I would
So Tom
put
Caesar.
the reconnaissance in, and then I don't mind after that. They're the only two I feel particularly strongly.
The problem is I've not seen Nightcrawlers, you've not seen Wolf of Wall Street, so...
But Wolf of Wall Street and Grand Budapest Hotel are bigger films than that, so I don't mind.
You've seen
I've
Grand
seen
Budapest?
Grand Budapest, yeah.
Was Fiennes good in that?
Fiennes was brilliant, yeah. Fiennes was really strong performance. I really enjoyed it. And from what you guys have said, the Planet of the Apes, the mocap, the facial recognition, and just the way that a lot of the film is done with facial expressions as opposed to thing, I think that, to me, I know I haven't seen it, but that screams to me that it's bloody well done.
Well, he's more than just the technology he's proficient in, though. He's a good actor underneath it.
Definitely.
So we've got Andy, and we've got the Mahana in there as well. So we need that final one. Who are we going to go for?
Right.
Leo or Ralph Jones?
Ralph Jones.
So Ralph Jones from the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay. AKA Ray Fiennes.
Cool with that.
So cool, that is your selection for Best Actor. Best Actress we've decided on, unless you've got someone else to throw in the meantime. We have gone for Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Her. Fantastic performance, I think you'll agree.
Yeah.
She
Incredible.
She manages to have, honestly, a film stealing performance from her voice alone. She's alluring, she's beautiful, she's mystical, she's wonderful in this role. It's probably a best of the year, I think. But I think that's absolutely a cracking role. Do you have anything to add?
No, just everything you said. It is just brilliant.
Okay, who's number 2?
Number 2 is, I don't know if you've heard of her, Scarlett Johansson in Under the Skin.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Me and Steve have seen this one.
Yeah.
I think the film is a 6 or 7 out of 10, but Scarlett Johansson plays the role of the character so well. Again, she carries the film in a lot of sense. Again, and she says very little in this film. It's all in her
used all the
expression.
talking
She did
in
it
her.
talking, yeah. But it is just proved that she can use her face to convey this childhood sense of wonder on the world, and then fear and loss, but at the same time being a cold-hearted killer. It's amazing. It's just a fantastic film. I mean, you've seen it. You liked it more than me. In fact.
I did. It was a 7/8 for me, and I think because it was such a powerful performance.
PowerPoint performance.
PowerPoint performance. It was such a powerful performance. I can't even say. No, I see. Well, I learn a new word, and an old word is obviously just.
But the words.
M. Night Shyamalan. See,
Oh my god,
I've lost another word now because of that. But really strong performance, and I think the scenes just driving around where she ad-libs as well just proves that again she has talent. She has talent. She can just convey the ad-libbing sense.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
She sounds like she's odds on to win this category?
But who's going to stand up against her? Well, it is Scarlett Johansson in Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, it's really been her year.
I would like to stress, yes, partly this is done for comedic reason to have her in 3 times, but genuinely, the 3 performances that stood out, and this is nothing to say that there aren't any other good performances out there from women, but she has just been stunning this year, and I think she's been growing. And she was
seen Lucy either, have we?
Yeah,
she could easily go in again.
She was completely kind of maligned as a character as Black Widow in the earlier appearances. She was like, oh, here's the woman in tight clothing character. But she's managed to develop herself, push herself in more, and becoming an absolutely fantastic character. I mean, the scene at the start of the Avengers where she's tied up, and that's a great scene.
Oh, yeah.
But really, she manages to get some quality screen time in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And she becomes across a charismatic, great, interesting, deep character as well, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we could have put like Anne Hathaway in, and there were a few others we mentioned, but it just seems like Scarlett Johansson's year, so we're not trying to suggest there weren't other good female performances.
Does she have the best ones?
Yeah. Well,
honest to God, that's why we chose those 3.
We liked it, yeah.
It was funny. Now, we asked Steve to go away and think, but I don't know if he did, about the best TV series this year. Now, me and Scott, we've thrown in The Walking Dead Season 4, because I think that's been the best series of The Walking Dead so far. Scott threw in Arrow Season 2, and we also felt we should put Doctor Who in there as well, although it has divided people. But can you think of anything else that should go in there?
And again, the criteria for this, that the season has to have ended by the time we made the nominations.
Yeah.
So, or else Flash would have been in there. Oh yes, it would have. Oh yes.
So, do you have any other TV series you've watched other than Coronation Street?
Other than revisiting
Sesame
Breaking
Street?
Bad. I can't remember, when did Breaking Bad end? No, it's not nominated. No.
So we're going with that.
year, didn't it?
Yeah, that was last year. I've not really watched anything, if I'm honest.
So your nominations for Best TV this year have been The Walking Dead Season 4, Arrow Season 2 and Doctor Who.
Season 27, 28?
Around that mark.
Season, I think it's Season 8 if you quote just New Who, but everyone will shout at us. It's more like 28.
Best game we have struggled with. So we like last year there was such a rich amount of games: Tomb Raider, GTA 5, Pokemon, X and Y, Last of Us. It was just a great year. I thought this year's been a bit meh.
Well, it's mostly they're all coming out now. So we don't own any of them.
No.
So what we've tried our best here, and we're from the gamers who listen will probably shout at us, but we're going to go with it anyway. We've got actually 4 written down, so we need to knock one out somewhere.
Okay.
I always do.
Alien Isolation has been taking the world by
Alien
storm.
Isolation, and we're gonna stop the Queen.
I liked it.
But yeah, that's a great movie property. Rarely been given its time, because I remember the last one, the Soldiers one, kind of fell on its face.
Colonial Marines was shocking.
On alien games in general, just terrible.
Yeah.
Because when this came out, from what I heard, everyone was going, do you know what's actually good? An alien game?
Yeah.
So that's why that's in. Super Smash Brothers was thrown in by you.
Yeah, on the DS, because I bought it quite recently. I'm really enjoying it. I love Smash Brothers games. They're really fun.
It's just mental.
How the hell do you see what's going on the small screen? Because I struggled with it on the Wii on a big TV. So how do you
I use my eyes.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I don't have a problem.
fair enough.
It's just me.
No, I'm just intrigued. I'm curious.
I don't really know why it's in here, because I don't think any of us have played it,
Go
but
on.
Destiny has been put in.
It's just one of the games everyone's been raving about this year. My brother says it's good. It looked like Halo Revisited to me. But I hate shooting ups. I'm sorry, guys. They all just seem the same to me.
I'm not bothered by what it is. I'm more interested because Steve brought this last one, Wolfenstein, and you said that took a lot of time.
Wolfenstein New Order.
Does that shoot 'em up?
Yeah, really good return to the Wolfenstein franchise. I think Return to Castle Wolfenstein quite a few years ago was a really strong shoot 'em up game with a great story as well. And this one kind of takes it to a whole new level. And the backstory and the mythos they've created. I got the limited edition with the booklet. and they've gone so far as to sort of recreate all the old wartime things, but it basically takes a look at what would happen if the Nazis had won the war with all the technology they had, how far advanced that would be, and how that would have affected the world, and the plot follows that, and it's a really strong plot, and it's really well done.
There's only giants in the sky.
There's big rovers, all kinds of cool stuff, and the guns are incredible, as always with Wolfenstein games. They're just completely over the top, ridiculous guns. Really fun, really pretty looking, really strong story, and it did eat up a full weekend. I barely moved when I first bought it.
So I think we're dropping Destiny from that.
Well, we shouldn't have it there, because if we're doing the same criteria as the film, it's got to be games we've played. So
Alien Isolation, Super Smash Brothers, and Wolfenstein New Order. Good band. I don't really care for them, to be honest, but yeah, that's best game.
Monday's a tune.
Now we move on to the best villain. We've had some good villains this year, but three. I think we boiled it down to three. I don't know if Steve wants to throw in anyone.
I was thinking Bad Cop from the Lego Movie, Liam Neeson.
Oh, you know what?
Liam Neeson as Bad Cop.
We'll throw him in. So we've got
what about Will Ferrell as well in the Lego Movie?
But he was,
for some reason,
it was a really strong character.
Never thought of animated film.
But I think they may be dropped off because the first one is Winter Soldier, who is the best villain we've had in a Marvel movie since our Loki.
Yeah, I thought this slightly, didn't I? Because I thought Robert Redford was the villain of the film, but he's got the title. He's cool. He's mysterious. He's like he's a villain. He's a villain in what he does. He's not culpable, but he is the villain, and he's really cool. And it's easily the best villain turn of the year. So
yeah, and the next one I really want to keep in holding there because I think it was a fantastic performance from an ape, and that's Cobra, who was played by. Remind me, his name
was it Toby Kebbell?
I think it is Toby Kebbell, but it's really intense, angry.
Man.
But what you really feel for Cobra because Caesar's had quite a good time really getting into it. I know he felt unjustified in the first one, and then he's got to this point now. But he's more a reasonable person as opposed to Cobra, who's had shit. He's a damaged ape.
He's chucked it at the rest of them.
But even now he's a bit of a dick all the way through. You still kind of root for him. You want him to be. You want him to go. Come on, just calm down, Cobra.
Yeah. Well, I've just said the best villain turn this year, but I was referring to the superhero fair. But I truly think the best villain of the year is Cobra in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And I thought, the minute I walked out of it, I thought, yeah, it's him. He's brilliant in it.
Absolutely stunning. One of the biggest.
I hated him.
I loved him, but hated him. You know, I didn't hate him. I didn't love him, but you felt a nugget of hope in there, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you're wanting him.
But you should hate the. You should want. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen enough when you think about it.
What happens, definitely. He certainly.
You want to hate them for what they're doing, because too many are quite charismatic or like. Do you know what I mean?
The biggest villain in size, although maybe with a mute or something there, but no, it's Smaug from The Desolation of Smaug, the Hobbit film. The most orgasmy moment in the film when that thing rounds the corner on him. Cumberbatch, I putting a voice to a dragon felt ridiculous to me. I didn't think that would work, but when Smaug appears and talks to Martin Freeman,
did you never watch Pete's Dragon?
No, I did actually, but you know.
Do you know the remake?
That's probably lost my faith, but yeah, I know what's going on.
That's fucking madness.
Yeah, I thought Cumberbatch's Smaug was amazing. I thought he was truly like. Even on the small screen, it's a thunderous, giant, terrifying, and brilliant performance from a big greedy dragon. So that's why he's in for me. Do you two have any words?
Two films I haven't seen, but you've sold them well. As I say, my input would be the Lego Movie.
So do you think Will Ferrell as Mr. Business, what's he called, and Bad Cop deserve to knock any of those three?
I like the idea of Will Ferrell.
If it's any of them, it's maybe Smaug. But I think we're talking much for a muchness. I won't include them. But I don't want to get too much into why without getting into nitty gritty spoilers. But I think that's fine. Because
honourable mentions then to the
villain doesn't always equal antagonist. We created best villains mainly to address the sort of superhero good versus evil films, and it's just the way Dawn is. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. There happens to be a standout villain, but it's not necessarily one of those films. But Smaug feels right.
Yeah. So your best villain,
if you know what I mean?
Is the Winter Soldier from the Winter Soldier. Cobra from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Smaug from The Desolation of Smaug. Let's move on to the. Oh, this was a very, very, very tough one. The best horror movie of the year. There's not been many good horror films, I'm afraid.
There was Mrs. Brown's Boys the movie.
That's true. Could get in there. Well, one you certainly loved from celluloid screens and should be hitting bigger screens coming soon.
Yes,
but we have seen it before the date has technically been released. So we're going to go Starry Eyes. I don't think we can include it because we haven't seen it and I want to see it before, but I was going to put the Babadook in.
Yeah,
but we can't.
We've not seen it.
Rules is rules.
Rules be rules.
Darn it!
And then The Editor was another one, Astron 6's Editor, thrown in there. But is it more a comedy or is it more a horror? I think it might go into the horror category because it is about giallo horror.
It does say it does.
It's a love letter to giallo horror, so we'll have that. But what do we put after that? Because I would class the only other one I put in there is What We Do in the Shadows, but I think that's predominantly a comedy.
Yes.
So I'm not putting it in there.
It has to be between you guys because I've watched nothing that can be categorised as a horror in the last year.
And like you said, I'd love to have put Babadook in, but none of us have
seen it. So sorry, Babadook. Housebound was fun. Was it award worthy?
Never saw The Purge Anarchy.
Oh yeah.
Comment on that.
Annabelle.
No, by all accounts, it's
awful.
Last year it was a really easy category.
Has there been a paranormal activity? There always is.
There's the marked ones, but I didn't think that was much to shout about.
No. It pretended it was going to do something different from the trailer, and then it was like, oh.
Ooh, Oculus.
No, we haven't seen
saw
that.
It.
I don't know.
Dracula Untold.
That's not a horror.
Ouija, not seen it. Horns, we never saw that.
We're a rubbish this year.
I didn't.
Oh, gosh.
What was that one? Waluigi.
Wolves, never saw that either. No, so I'm just listing. VHS Viral. No,
We didn't
never
see it,
saw
no.
that either. No,
No.
No,
Well, I
can't.
would.
Genuinely can't.
I would have put Housebound in there.
Any other year?
And Tusk, not seen it.
Any other year? Andrew would write this in his sleep. It's just been a weird one.
I just think it's been a very bad year for horror, but there's no taking away from The Editor, and Starry Eyes were very good, and Housebound was my next one up as a 7, so it's going to be Housebound.
Cool.
Vote away, people. The Editor, Starry Eyes, Housebound. I'll be surprised if you've seen them. We then go to Best Comedy of the Year. 4 entries. We need to make a decision.
Okay.
So first of all, one of the best films I've seen this year, without a doubt, one of the best comedies I've seen for many years. What We Do in the Shadows by Jermaine Clement and the people behind Flight of the Conchords. A hilarious tale of 4 vampires rooming together. A bromance with a twist. Let's say a drippy, bloody trip.
I'm going to see it soon. You two seem to love it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Then
It's got to be there.
I think we've got to decide between the next 3. Anchorman 2 came out and was okay. Entertaining, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely watchable, but not really. Even though people were going, oh, it's up there with the first one, I don't think it was. It was fine, though. I enjoyed it. And I haven't seen Bad Neighbours or 22 Jump Street. Have you seen them?
I've seen Bad Neighbours, and it was one of those ones, I think, like, I went in expecting not a lot and came out with a strong 7, scraping the barrel of an 8. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Did you see 22 Jump Street?
No, because it's out on DVD next week.
I was going to see Bad Neighbours 2 nights ago.
And you didn't.
Fell asleep.
You watched Mamma Mia instead.
Yeah.
I literally was hovering around it, and then somehow it cut to morning.
So by law of the awards,
Yeah.
then 22 Jump Street gets dropped. What We Do in the Shadows, Anchorman 2 and Bad Neighbours are your comedy of the year. Now let's go over to best comic book movie of the year. This one has been decided. It's X-Men Days of Futures Past.
Mm-hmm.
It is Captain America the Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think this was easy.
Mm.
Because I didn't hate Amazing Spider-Man 2 as much as most, but it's easily the weakest of the four, and we've opened it up to comic book and not just superhero, and it weren't going to be Sin City either.
No.
Or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, easiest category we did.
Yeah. Cool. Best animation, we do need to make a decision on this one, and this is going to be a tough one as well. Scott brought Assault on Arkham to the table. I brought The Wind Rises, and again, one of my favourite films I've watched this year, 9 out of 10. Lego is just very good comedy, 8 out of 10 for me, and it did fall in. It did. It came out in December in Britain. We are bringing it. We didn't miss it last year. Frozen is on the table. Steve, you've seen Frozen 7 times.
I have.
You have.
It.
You've seen it 7 times.
Yep. So
what would you give it out of 10?
It's an 8. It's an 8 or a 9. It's
8 or a 9.
definitely. It's definitely.
For a film you've seen 7 times, I would have thought it would be a 10.
Oh, I don't know. I hate. Yeah, 10 is such a. Oh.
But yeah, we need to drop one.
I mean, all three of us have watched Frozen and Lego Movie, and we really enjoyed both of them.
Yeah.
I feel confident speaking for all of us. I think them two are dead set. So we're talking between Wind Rises and Assault on Arkham, both of which only one of us has seen.
Yeah.
I love Assault on Arkham just because it's geek related. It's a great Suicide Squad film released by DC Entertainment, who usually do a couple of animated films a year. And at the same time, it's got Batman in it, and it harks to all the Arkham games. It's got a lot of good Arkham designs and iconography, and tied into the games and stuff. I really enjoyed it. It's quite a mature Batman film. But The Wind Rises is probably a level above in terms of filmmaking and animation. So I'm happy to defer if you feel very strongly about The Wind Rises.
I just think it's Miyazaki's last film. It was very emotional and kind of really felt like a great swan song by somebody I love. If it wasn't his last film, I may have gone okay and bowed down to that, but I do feel relatively strong to keep it in.
Okay.
And I feel like this is his last, like you said, it's his last film, so next year can't ever go in to the awards again.
And it's
Never
prestigious.
Film.
Never can Assault on Arkham. I'm joking.
So we're dropping Assault on Arkham. Are we alright with
Yeah.
that? So The Wind Rises, Lego and Frozen are your best animation nominations this year.
I was shocked Frozen's been up.
Now before we go into the sci-fi one, which is The Battle, let's get worst performance out the way. We brought Paul Giamatti as Rhino, very 2D. And
This seemed easy last year, but it felt harsh this year. But he plays it very arch and cartoonish, and he's obviously been directed that way. But it didn't really work for any of us, and we have to fill the category. So yeah, it was easy.
Ricky Gervais in The Muppets 2, The Muppet Most Wanted, I think it was called.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I'm not a Gervais basher like Steve is. I generally stand up for him. But I think he can do awful films, and this is another example of him. And you know that annoying impression Steve does of Ricky Gervais?
No, do it now.
Oh, I'm in this. Yeah. Oh. He normally does it when he's drunk and angry.
Yeah.
And he gets really...
You provoke me.
I provoke him. I talk about The Hobbit. But yeah, it's just a shit performance. And
it sounds a shame because I love the Muppet film.
It's a huge letdown from that. I mean, I've had it argued to me that it's more of a caper of old Muppet world. So if you're a big Muppet fan from the 70s, you'll like it. But I didn't, and I thought Ricky Gervais was a bit embarrassing.
You can't recreate charm just by copying.
Ray Liotta plays a rubbish character in a scene in Sin City 2, so I put him in. And the other one is Megan Fox in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Need to drop one.
Again, I wouldn't say she's a massive reason for that film not being brilliant, and for her, relatively speaking, she's not too bad, but she's not good either. And if you're really pushing me, I'd say Megan Fox, because I've not seen Sin City. But again, I
Sin
don't
City,
mind
though,
deferring.
he doesn't really lose. He doesn't really make a bad film worse. He just isn't very good.
Okay.
So,
I'm happy to say Megan Fox then, if you want.
We'll get rid of Ray Liotta then.
I've seen neither, so yeah.
When people say Ray Liotta, I always hear it as Ray the Otter.
Ray Liotta.
And I always imagine some sort of like Winnie the Pooh-esque.
Best kids show, are we doing that this year? So it's up to you, because you're the only one who watches them.
Oh, don't embarrass me. I like to Beware the Batman, I liked Ultimate Spider-Man, I like Avengers Assemble.
Should we say that then?
Regular show.
Phineas and Ferb's always good. You two watch Adventure Time.
Yeah, Adventure Time and regular show.
Have they been on this year though, the other series?
Series 6 of Adventure Time.
We're going to put that... Well, you two decide.
What's it?
Because I don't care.
Need to check. No, I
Beware the Batman, Avengers Assemble, and then whatever Steve says.
Oh, just checking Adventure Time.
In fact, not Avengers
series.
Assemble. Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ultimate
Put that ahead.
Spider-Man.
Because that's more daft. Avengers Assemble annoys me sometimes.
Well, Steve's looking.
I'm going to check. I haven't seen it, but I know. Yeah, 2014. April, May, June.
Cool.
Was another 17 episodes.
So you want to drop Avengers Assemble. So we've got Beware the Batman, The Ultimate Spider-Man and Adventure Time in for another year. And one last year as well, so it might win again. Adventure Time. So here we go. Best sci-fi fantasy, which already had... We had a huge battle. I'll just tell you the original nominations were Godzilla, Her, Under the Skin, Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Desolation of Smaug, Hunger Games 2, Robocop. Since we have watched Interstellar and Live, Die, Repeat, or whatever it's called, we'd already dropped Under the Skin.
It really says what we watch this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very clear what sort of films we watch by how long that nomination list.
Definitely.
We dropped Under the Skin, we dropped Desolation of Smaug, we dropped Hunger Games 2, and we dropped Robocop. We're stuck now because we got, well, how many? 5.
Sorry, what's left?
Godzilla, Her, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Edge of Tomorrow, and Interstellar.
It's tough because I've only seen 2 of them.
So, talk, people.
I loved Interstellar and I really enjoyed Godzilla, but I've not seen the rest to compare.
I've seen Planet of the Apes. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. So good. Sorry, I've not seen Her and Edge of Tomorrow.
Would you say it's worthy with those films, Edge of Tomorrow?
Edge of Tomorrow was good. I'd like, if I was choosing between the 2 I've seen, which is Her and Edge of Tomorrow, I'd keep Her. Just because it was such a...
You've seen Godzilla though.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the other, because we've all seen Godzilla. I'm thinking from the other 2 that I've seen, just me. Oh no, you've seen Her.
Only Steve's seen Edge of Tomorrow. Like,
you've seen Her as well, haven't you, Andrew?
And he don't seem to be strongly pitching it. So
I would keep Her because I just think it was like a...
I'd keep Her as well. Close to my chest.
It was just I think it was just a really interesting, well-told story, and to have Joaquin Phoenix, you know, as pretty much the standalone character and a voice of Scarlett Johansson, I think it didn't need flashbang explosions and sci-fi in space and the kind of... Do you know what I mean though? Sometimes you get trapped in that generic, it's a sci... But there've been a lot of really strong, really different sci-fi films, as the list proves. I mean, but I would like to keep Her.
But because it's such a different sci-fi film, should it be in the category? Because whilst it's technically sci-fi, it seems out of place.
Well, let's just try something. What's out of your 3? You can only really bring 2, can't you? So Godzilla and Her get a vote. So out of those ones, which would you have, Scott? You haven't seen Her, have you?
I haven't seen Her. I don't doubt Her's probably a better film, but I really enjoyed Godzilla, and it seems to fit in the category better.
So it only comes down to me then. It's hard because, just for the count, Godzilla's got 2 votes, Her's got 1 vote, Planet of the Apes has got 2 votes, and Interstellar has 1 vote. So I'd
vote Interstellar.
No, we've got 1 because I haven't voted.
Oh, sorry.
This is from your 2. If I had to, and I don't really want to, I would drop Godzilla. Because
Look how serious we take it, people. You think we just chuck out a list, don't you? You're listening to this deliberation process.
But then if you were looking at Her and Interstellar, they're the 2 different wildcards. Do we want a spectrum? Because if we want a spectrum, Godzilla's got to be in there, and I do think it's a very good film.
I don't know. When I hear best sci-fi and fantasy, I think films like Godzilla and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Interstellar. But Her falls under the bracket. But it's a shame we don't have we should have best drama or something.
But I think it certainly is a sci-fi if you look at it. It certainly is, and it deserves to be in there.
If you 2 really want it in, put it in.
It basically looks at technology and how technology.
I just don't want our best sci-fi to just look the same as best movie.
It's too hard. It's too hard. So do we go ahead with 4?
Yeah, well,
why not?
Yeah.
It's the category that's got the most in.
No one polices us.
No.
We police ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a rare exception, and the only reason we're doing 4 is because it's too hard. It's been such a strong category this year, and that's like we put Guardians in comic book. That could have been in sci-fi as well.
Oh God,
but we
can you
kept
imagine?
it away. So yeah, we're going 4. We're going Godzilla, Her, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Interstellar. 4 amazing films. So which moves us on to the biggies. Let's start with worst movie of the year. Now in these ones, best and worst movie of the year, we each bring our own. So it's no deliberation. It is our own favourite film of the year and least favourite film we watched in 2014, including November 2013.
It's a bit like a very elaborate recommendation.
Yeah. Scott, what was your least favourite of the year?
It was Harry Hill the movie.
Harry Hill the movie. If you listen back a few weeks ago, you'll hear Scott's reasoning why. It sounded fantastic, though.
It did. Steve certainly enjoys it.
I did.
Steve loved it. Steve was meant to look into this, so I'll let him look in his notebook. Mine, easy. The worst film I've seen this year is Sin City 2. It was such a disappointment after the first one. Kind of knew it was going to be bad, but not as bad as it actually turned out. Some people have been saying it's alright. Look at it, people. Just watch it properly.
I am guessing that Harry Hill came out at Boxing Day, like I think it did. If it isn't, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I'm pretty sure it did. We can maybe... Steve's the man on the phone.
I'm trying to... I didn't look into it.
Oh, he didn't do his very basic homework.
So we sit here quiet.
So now
life and plan.
we have Deader.
Most popular films, worst films released in 20... Come on, him.
Have mine if you want. You can have Harry Hill.
I liked Harry Hill. I wouldn't say that was the worst.
You liked
film I've
Harold
seen.
and Kumar Save Christmas.
Yeah, it was a throwaway.
In 3D.
I didn't see it in 3D, unfortunately.
You gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I did. It was good.
We need to crack on.
Kick-Ass 2.
That
was last year. I can't. Oh, I'm just going through my random list of films, looking at what I've scored things.
You can see how serious we take this.
You would take this so seriously, and then I mess it all up like I do with everything. ABCs of Death 2.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
That wasn't very good.
ABCs of Death 2 is your next one, so vote. And best movie. Steve, have you thought about this one? What was your favourite movie of the year? Bear in mind there's Frozen, which has been seen 7 times.
If you had to give it a 2-letter review, would you give it PU? It stunk. Sorry.
Frozen or Guardians?
It's your decision.
Frozen.
Frozen.
Oh, fuck you.
Nah.
Fuck you.
Now we've got Frozen in the category. It's got to be Guardians.
Guardians also in the category.
Guardians was the sideswipe one because that was completely out of the blue. I mean, I've watched Frozen a billion times, but Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think our listeners will be disappointed that Weekly Geek Speak hasn't.
I got so angry because I was happy he put Guardians so I wouldn't have to, and then to change it for fucking Frozen would get me so angry.
To decide, Should we let you think about it while we do ours?
I liked how mad Scott got, so I want to put Frozen.
No, you promised me it'd be Guardian.
You can't sway him.
How mad you got.
This is Steve's.
I think the fact that I've seen it that much and still enjoy it, I can't not. I can't not.
Oh, I hate you so
I
much.
can't not. If we ignore the fact that it exists, fine, but I can't do that. I've seen it so many times.
No. I'm not.
Okay, Scott.
No.
What are you going
No, no, not having it. No.
Sorry, it's his choice. It's his awards as well.
No.
It's not yours.
What?
Just
No.
because you wanted one of your options to go in with him.
If people vote fucking Frozen to win the film of the year,
now.
I am storming off this podcast.
So Steve's chose Frozen. Scott, what are you picking?
Hashtag Save Weekly Geek Speak.
I fucking hate you, Steve. Andrew, you go first.
Mine is between three.
Yeah.
It's between The Wind Rises, What We Do in the Shadows,
Good shout.
and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes of the Three of the Rings
Oh,
of the
so you
Good.
can't even help me with my conundrum. So I'm
No.
picking two.
No, I'm not.
And if he doesn't pick Dawn, I've got three, and I'll cry even more.
It's between, actually boiling it down, it's between What We Do in the Shadows and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And I might go What We Do in the Shadows to give Scott a real headache.
That was a really good shout as well. It was 9 out of 10.
Genuine, it's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best comedy I've seen in a long time.
Really, really.
But the thing
funny.
is, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes of the Rings of the Free is such a great film as well, and had a really good interaction between the two lead. I got more interested in the apes than the people. My heart is saying Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I'd love to put Scott in even more of a dilemma because it amuses me. Will go Dawn of the Planet of the Apes of the Three of the Rings of the True.
You know what? I was fucking promised, guys. He was going to say Guardians. He was going to say Dawn. I could swan in with Interstellar.
Did I miss the memo?
And I could can away, knowing that three of my favourite films of the year were all.
But it isn't the Scott Award.
It should be the Scott Award.
Scott Award.
But now I have to make a choice between two things I loved.
There you go.
Yeah.
So did Steve.
So did I.
And I'm going to be shouted at. But Frozen's got its category over there.
Yeah, but
So is all of them.
So's Interstellar,
They're
and
all
so's
in a category.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Three, three, three.
If they weren't in other categories, they wouldn't be our favourites.
Oh, fuck that. I think Interstellar is far more ambitious and layered and worthy than Guardians, but Guardians is such watchable, funny, fun, charming, and in terms of public perception and popular culture, it is probably the biggest film of the year, and that could easily have gone wrong. But I loved Interstellar. Is he any more awards?
No. Is it?
Oh dear.
I'm gonna say Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh.
And I'm also gonna say fuck you, Steve. You fucking turncoat.
It's turncoat. But now you've put both films Steve wanted in the award, so Steve wins.
I am off.
Hi everyone, this is Mark, the Sword is Drawn on Twitter. Right, I'm here to introduce the contenders for the Best Creative Run of 2014. Three options this time, the first of which is Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is a kind of a space odyssey book, which we've spoken about on the podcast before. Very impressive, certainly won awards in the last couple of years. It's been a very good year for the book. Secondly off, another comic from Image Comics. This is Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky, a book about two individuals who realise that they have superpowers when they partake of a certain act, which allows them to go off and rob banks. And finally, the third, we've spoken again about this on the podcast quite a little bit. This is Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang. This has been a creative run which has been going on since the end of from the start of DC's New 52. The creative run itself is now coming to an end, and it's been incredibly strong throughout. I think it would be remiss of me not to in some way reflect that in my nomination. Okay, so there are your three options. Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky, and Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang.
Oh, we're at the end of the show. It's been quite a beefy podcast this week, so we'll crack on. Just remember to cast your vote on the voting form. We'll be plugging that this week, and you've got 6 weeks to fill it out. Please spread it out amongst your friends. Tell them about the podcast if they want to listen. We really appreciate it. But now we're going to the great book, the book that I wrote when I was a child with my sister, the Bumpy Goose book, Scary Stories. This story is...
The Night of the Living Cyberpet.
Oh wow, that's
Nostalgia.
dating it. Tamagotchis. I
But
had
they had copyright on the name, so...
I had a Toy Story one with the alien.
I had a dog.
And I sold it to my friend for £5 and regretted it instantly.
Yeah.
The 90s.
The 90s. Jojo has a cyberpet. It is a dinosaur. One day, Jojo was just about to go to sleep when she heard a scream. Not in an sort of way.
Don't even know my own story.
Good for clarifying. What sort of scream then? Like a sheep being gutted. like a cow coming across a mouse. Steve, my sentence was innocent.
What is that? Said Jojo. She shrugged. Dunno. Don't know why she's Australian. That's how I would read that.
It's like the Fasters advert.
Dunno. Just the wind, maybe. She heard it again.
What was it again? I'm not having a shit.
Whale, woo, roar! Get me out, little girl!
No, I wrote this. I need a more gruff, scary voice. This is the scream. I want something slightly seedy, slightly creepy.
Get me out, little girl.
I like it.
God.
That's exactly what I wanted.
Oh, that was like Gremlins.
Said something. What are you?
You've committed to the
I
Australian.
That's how I'd read it. I don't know.
I'm your pet dinosaur. Let me out.
Oh, it's getting very Gollum now.
How?
Press the reset button.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. She did.
Oh.
Now get me a hammer from your cool toolkit.
Oh, that's just gone.
What's your product placement? Did you get some sponsorship deals? Take a good swig of Monster and then get your cool toolkit, okay? Maybe a slush puppy.
Or Mr. Frosty. So much fun for everyone.
Game of screwball.
It's there by your Mighty Max. Hungry hippo.
Is that a mouse trap? Yes, Dino. She did.
Now whack me.
Oh, I've heard that before.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, do it now.
Oh, so many flashbacks right now.
Oh.
Go on, just...
Is this one based on... I don't know where this is going.
Just go on.
Go on. Oh, okay. Wham! She hit it.
Oh, scared me.
Oh, the cyberpet began to bulge.
I bet. Well, if you whack me, if you whack me off, you know.
Bang! it exploded.
Yep, that's the end result.
But out crept a dinosaur.
Never happened to me before. It's usually ectoplasm. Primordial ooze.
Spooky ghosts.
Now get me some food. Now!
Very demanding, but very
Yeah.
consistent for a cyber pet, so I don't...
Yeah.
Now clean my poop.
Okay, but what?
Got any chicken?
From KFC.
No, but I've got some turkey.
No one likes
I've got-
turkey.
I don't know what I've
I
got.
hate turkey.
No.
It's the driest
Dry,
of all.
not
you need
good.
to drown it in gravy.
And it was the 90s, so there'd have been turkey drummers or turkey dinosaurs.
Oh my god!
Jamie Oliver! Wait a minute!
Turkey dinosaur!
That's Kirsty Allsop or Jamie Oliver there.
That'll do.
Jojo crept downstairs. She got the turkey.
No.
Sorry.
Oh, sound effects.
That was her creeping.
Here, give it to me.
He ate it.
Now I'll eat you.
Oh,
The end.
no.
Jojo got eated.
Very smart dinosaur, though. Like, if you save your food, you could get more food before you eat the food. It's very smart.
I like it.
I love the picture.
That's incredible.
It looks like a very Camp Godzilla waiting for some slush. to kill
Looks like
Sam.
she's carrying the
It's like
poo.
it does actually look like she's carrying poo. It's,
Not a bad day for the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Got a hand job, some turkey,
So we've got his product placement in there.
got a paycheck, and then
So there we go. That was the Night of the
dear.
Living Cyber Pet. 90s nostalgia there, which we'll be doing more of next week, I think. But for now, what time is it, Steve?
It's time for This Week The Geeks Have Spoken.
ba-ba-da-bum.
Thank you, as always, for all your interactions, reviews, and yeah, everything. Keep it coming in. Start, as always, this time with 3-word reviews from Pete Bushbauer, king of 3-word reviews.
Which we gave a bad name to last
Yeah, somebody slagged him off.
It wasn't
were-
there when
you
I
were
did the
all
shout.
like-
It wasn't there when I did the shout out. So at Popular Outcast, Interstellar. Holy fuck, Nolan. 9 out of 10.
week. Yeah.
I agree. Very
Yeah.
good, Mr. Nolan.
Yeah.
Well done.
Aren't you a good director?
Good work.
Yes, you are.
You're so good. You should have this Mr. Frosty. There you are. Available now. Probably not, actually. Look on eBay.
I bet they still sell them. I
Yeah.
never got one.
I always wanted one. They weren't very good.
What was that toy when the penguins went down the slope and it was like animatrized?
Oh, they're great.
What was it called?
I
And
don't
they
know what,
just
I don't know
loop
what
it like
name
a-
they've got.
I know what you
It was
mean.
one of them.
I used to like those shaky tube things that used to shake. My mum had one.
Oh, really?
And
the way Andrew's miming
I
right
used to
now.
borrow it and it used to
Yeah.
shake.
Was your
and
dad
I used
always
to make-
around?
I know, I always took it from a drawer because I thought it was my Christmas present.
And it always vibrated.
But
didn't
then
it?
I
Yeah.
got like Action Man and he was running around with it and it would start
Yeah.
shaking. You know, it's great.
Yeah.
You could line up all your little army soldiers on it and press the button and see who lasted longest.
Yeah. And
Nice.
your mum was always appalled when you were playing with it.
Whenever she played, she was on a great time.
Yeah.
Whooping, wailing, I don't know.
Children of the Corn 3, Fields of Terror. Crops Gone Bad, 3 out of 10.
Never seen any of the Children of the Corn films.
Wow.
I haven't actually.
Oh, Children of the Corn 5, my bad. There's a 5 in there. 3 out of 10. How many did they do then?
I don't know.
Too many, probably, by the sounds of it. And A Million Ways to Die in the West. Seth MacFarlane sucks. 2 out of 10.
Yeah. Well, humour's very subjective. I saw it. I didn't mind it. I thought it had a couple of laughs in there. Because I don't mind Seth MacFarlane. It's not a classic though, but I thought it was alright. But each to their own. Humour, comedy and horror are two of the most subjective things.
I'm just disgusted I made a joke about my mum's vibrator.
Is that what you were talking about?
Oh. What?
I love how it wasn't. I made a joke that my mum's got a vibrator. It was made a joke of my mum's definite.
I don't know.
We know. Now we know.
The beefinator.
That's what she calls it. I don't know. Beef and 85000.
Simon Salami.
It was like a lawnmower. You had to like go.
Like a chainsaw.
Petrol powered. Getting him from school up. Oh god. Not again. Andy.
Even mothers are sexual beings.
Touche.
It was way touche. You're right.
Andy Lonsdale 21. Interstellar. Love conquers all.
I have a film called Interstellar.
Do you?
Incidentally, she has a motorised
Yeah.
gadget.
It's very good. Camera gets right up there.
Richard
Sorry,
Lawrence.
sorry, what was the review? I wasn't paying attention. We've gone so sordid.
Keep it short and sweet, you said. Knock off some of the bits.
Keep it short and sweet. Knock off some of the bits. Are you talking about yours when you're designing them?
Yeah. Keep it short. Knock off some of the bits. Quick and simple.
5 minutes, you're done.
Yep. Richard Lawrence at Bill L. A Nightcrawler. One wild ride. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, probably.
That's also the tagline on Interstellar. We're taking it very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
You heard the nominations. Now it's the
Fury. War is brutal. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah, that's about right.
I've
I
heard
really enjoyed Fury. Brutal is definitely the first word that pops into my mind when I think about it.
Cookie and Screen at Cookie and Screen. The Limitation Game. Best Cumberbatch performance.
The imitation
Game.
But the limitation game. You're playing the limitation
game. It's obviously psychologically. Guys!
It's always Cumberbatch where you get stuck with names. The Soccer's Apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
The Limitation Game.
All the films.
Yeah, it's the Alan Turing film when he's breaking the Enigma code in World War II. It looks really good.
Cool. At Bill Al, finally Studio Ghibli is releasing a Blu-ray box set of all of Miyazaki's films. All 11.
No better time to do it, really, is there?
Miyazaki.
Miyazaki.
At Arbitrary Genius, Bex may go just to see the Batman vs Superman trailer, but really haven't enjoyed The Hobbit. That was in response to.
Oh, Twailers.
You know what? I'd weirdly forgot Batman vs Superman's muted to have its first teaser in front of The Hobbit. Now I'm going 5 times
for each army.
It was one. I was going to go with the amount of times as there are one rings, and now I'm going for the amount of armies.
Cool. I want to say thank you to Arbitrary Genius as well for giving us a nice shout out regarding subscribing and listening. Cool. We appreciate it.
Oh, nice. And thank you for anyone who's reviewed us on iTunes, because I was having a good poke around the other day, and they're all really lovely. So it's quite overwhelming when you read them all one after another.
Did you cry?
Because I'm like, we're shit.
Lots of me didn't like that one this week.
I'm like, no, I think it's wank. But they're all lovely. So thanks from the bottom of our heartsies. And if you haven't done it, don't like you. No. Anyone who reviews us is brilliant, and please do if you haven't. But we've got a streak of 5s going. I'm scared of that first.
Nice.
Yeah.
I still live in fear of that first. It'll only be a 4, and it'll crush me. Anyway,
Superfan Robbie Polanco at Robbie_Polanco. The Infinity List 2. Jared Leto is the Joker. He'll be very different, but he has big shoes to fill. I'll be looking forward to your show for the next. Yeah. Figuratively and literally. Looking forward to your show for the next 5 to 6 years. Mark Roberts' news was incredible. He really knows his stuff.
That was a lovely thing to tweet, but it says everything about maybe my slight underlining commitment issues that I went, whoa. I don't know if I want to commit. I hope we're going in 5 to 6 years.
Heck yeah.
Me too.
But we'll see.
Steve will be like 97.
I know.
My beard will be down to my
We might need to recast in 3.
Yeah. I'll be dead. I'll be past it. At Arbitrary Genius, on the subject of musicals, American Psycho was great, and Into the Woods is Stephen Sondheim, so very good and very good.
I didn't realise it was Stephen Sondheim.
Into the woods.
That's how it goes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Once we go.
I feel like we just watched the trailer again.
In all musical things, stand up going.
Johnny Depp
Like
appears in a
Mr.
hat.
Blobby.
And just to read out his name, man of many names, Waist Deep at Sparky Wright. Strong episode this week, lads.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
He really amuses me with his name. Thanks.
Well,
Love you.
please do fill out our questionnaire on our nominations. Please do vote. We'll be looking at them at the end of December, and we'll be presenting them in our show in January. We'll have lots of guests.
And by all means, if you have any suggestions or counterpoints, we will hear them. But remember our criteria.
Scott's worried that someone's going to tell him off.
Well, like we watch some. How can we say? And it's very personalised and subjective.
It's fine. We didn't have any issues
can't-
last time. And also, yeah, keep tweeting us and things. We'll be being next week.
Oh wow, that was Porky Pig-esque. Just say that's all, folks, so we can run out.
That's all, folks.
It